Louis Brown, born on July 25, 1978, in Oldham, northwest England. As the world's first test tube baby, Brown's birth has also become the origin of the story of technology-assisted human reproduction. The technology that gave birth to test tube babies is called IVF, in vitro fertilization, one of several technologies used to help people with fertility problems to have kids. IVF is a series of complex procedures used to treat infertility. During IVF, the doctor will collect mature eggs from the woman's ovaries and obtain sperm from the man by natural means. After obtaining the sperms and eggs, the doctor will use the following two methods to fertilize the sperm in the laboratory. The first step is routine artificial insemination, a mixture of healthy sperm and mature eggs placed in a controlled environment known as an incubator. The second step is intracytoplasmic sperm injection. A single healthy sperm is injected directly into each mature egg. The second method is usually used when semen quality or quantity is in question and after a previous IVF cycle of insemination has failed. After successful fertilization, one or more fertilized eggs, called embryos, are placed in the uterus, where the baby will develop. One full cycle of IVF takes about 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes these steps are divided into different parts, and the process may take longer. In 1978, IVF was introduced into the clinics. Originally developed to help infertile couples, the technology quickly expanded to include medical and genetic diseases, as well as fertility preservation. As of 2022, IVF accounts for more than 5% of births in European countries, 4.1% in Australia, New Zealand, 1.9% in the United States, and 1.7% in China. And some countries even have IVF covered by insurance. Now I believe you already have an overview of the IVF technology, but some of you would be concerned about the subsequent effects of this technology on individuals. Like, is there any difference between a test tube baby and the child of other natural childbirth? Well, in terms of the health of the child, there is no difference between IVF babies and others. As I mentioned before, the first IVF baby was born in 1978. But it wasn't until 2010 that the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine was awarded to Robert G. Edwards, the father of IVF. The first IVF baby, Louis Brown, already had a son at that time. Time and countless examples have proven that IVF babies and any other child are exactly the same. But when it comes to the influence on the parents, especially on women, the question is not so simple. I can only tell you some of the effects on the individual perspective, but those effects will vary from person to person. First, let's look at some physical impacts. The length of this retrieval needle is 35 cm, which is longer than your forearm. Stick it into the target follicle and you're ready for the procedure of retrieving. Of course, before this, you can take an injection of painkiller, but there are still many people who feel unbearable pain when they take eggs, and some even appear nausea, vomiting, respiratory depression, dizziness, and so on. Throughout the preparation period, a woman needs injections to put her body in the best condition for conception. After listening to these, you may feel that IVF is nothing more than more pain on the body, but for many couples, the most painful part of the whole process is not at the physical aspect, but some negative psychological issues. This is a preparation IVF cycle, and if the couple does not have a baby after one embryo transfer, they should have a second and third, and perhaps even more cycle of transfer. And it's not as if the number of eggs you get out is equal to the number of IVF opportunities. There'll probably only be 1 or 2 successful fertilizations at the final stage. About 2 weeks later is the time to take a blood test for pregnancy. What's even more sad is that when you have great expectations, you may still fail to have a baby for all sorts of reasons. In that case, you need to go through the whole process again, and dashing hope would apparently cause more mental stress. On the other hand, infertile couples may face problems with their physical and mental health, emotional damage, and family planning, while other homosexual couples may wish they were parents themselves. IVF technology gives them new opportunities, and they may have fulfillment and happiness after actually having a baby. However, the technology of IVF was also met with much controversy. The pre-implantation genetic testing, PGT, offers a way to escape a pregnancy with a severely diseased child. The applications of PGT have raised ethical concerns. What diseases should be assessed? Could testing be based on non-disease characteristics, such as intelligence and beauty? PGT can also be used to select embryos by sex. Do we really have the right to choose the gender we want? With the increasing demand for IVF, it has been gradually commercialized. The IVF industry includes the selling of embryos and the use of IVF commercial surrogacy, etc. Laws and regulations in these areas are not complete. Besides, some religious people, represented by the Roman Catholic Church, consider the natural human reproduction as a sacred realm of God's authority. The emergence of IVF had made it possible for babies to be born in laboratories, which was seen unnatural and messing with the God. On the other hand, they are concerned that excess embryos created in experiments would be discarded, which was a destruction of life. Since the world's first IVF birth in 1978, there have been at least 12 million IVF babies born globally. Robert G. Edwards, the father of IVF, was awarded the 2010 Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. In his memoirs, he wrote, "I will never forget the day when the IVF experiment was successful. As I looked through the microscope, what I saw was not just a fertilized egg. It was life gazing at me. That's what kept me going to the end. Children, indeed, are the most precious gifts in life."